Theme number two. Here we go. Theme number 2. A daily how-to. I'm so excited. Let's see. Just reading some of your comments. Yeah, we do forget that. We forget it often. We need to be reminded of that, and we need to remind each other of that all of the time in this community. So, theme number 2 today, in the spirit of the Olympics, I wanted to share with you just a real easy, fun little tutorial today on making the Olympic rings. So I put together this little, it's nothing fancy, this little table topper, so that when it's time to watch the Olympics, we have this out, we know it's Olympic night, and we'll put the treats and all of that fun stuff on there. So here we go, easy peasy. And again, in the spirit of the Olympics, I decided to do this. Now, even if you are not doing this exact project, hopefully you will learn a few things today that I want to share with you. Because I'm going to talk to you about how do I get the rings, what are the things you need to know if you're doing overlapping with applique. I'm going to talk a little bit more about applique. I know that they talked about it the other day. And it was really hard to see what they were doing on the sewing machine. So I'm going to do some pictures for you of drawing. I'm going to talk to you about some of the products that I use to make this. All right, so this is the little table topper. I did not create a kit for this, Dolores. That's a really good question. Maybe I should have. I just thought, well, I just took scrap fabric, and I'll show you how easy this is, okay? All right, so let's get started. So I don't have a pattern or anything because this is all I did was I Googled the Olympic rings. So I took a picture of it so I'd know like which one overlaps which. And then I just went to my stash and I looked for the fabrics that I used in it. Dolores, I could certainly put together a kit for you if you'd really like that. So you could call our customer service and ask for that. But there's no pattern because it's just rings. Like I was like, well, there's no pattern. Maybe I could put one together. It wouldn't be too hard. So anyway, that's what that is. Okay. So, and this is supposed to resemble confetti because we're in a celebratory mood. So let me tell you how I did this. You could do this any size, but I took, let's see, I cut a piece of an 8 by 10 inch piece of fabric. So I'm showing it on the red right now. And I also cut a piece of Heat and Bond light on here, and I just fused it onto the back. You could use Steam-A-Seam, you could use Kimberbell Peel and Stick, it doesn't matter. Like there's lots of different products out there to help you do this. It's a fusible web, that's what you're looking for. Yes, Joanne, it is all applique. So all I did was I fused this onto the back. So see, this is the paper side and then this is the fabric side. Now, last week, we talked about this awesome ruler. This is the Circle Savvy ruler. And I showed you how to make circles and then and half circles, and we turn those into the drunkard's path. The easy, simple way of doing the drunkard's path. So, but today I'm going to use the same ruler once again. I know a lot of you got it last week, but I'm going to use the same ruler again, but this time I'm going to make rings. All right, so not necessarily whole circles, but I'm making rings. And this is what makes it so simple to do. Yes, Laura said it would look good in glitter vinyl. Absolutely. I think it would, man, I'm kind of bummed I didn't think of that. That's a great idea. I think it would be really cute in the glitter vinyl for sure. Okay, so yeah, the rings, maybe they're trademarked, so maybe I can't really do a pattern for it, but like I said, it's just rings. So just look for that, okay? Like I said, go ahead and find a picture of the rings out on the web, and let me show you how to make them, and then you just fuse them on, okay? All righty, so how do we do this? Let me pull you down right here. And so the webbing is already fused on. What I'm going to do is fold it in half, give it a nice crease, and then fold it in half one more time. Now, for those of you who were with me last week, you remember that's exactly how I did the drunkard's path, right? We did it just like this, but that time I didn't have the fusible on it, and this time I do. So now I'm going to take my Circle Savvy ruler, and this right here says the fold line. So I'm going to line this up with the fold line on one side and the fold line along the bottom. Then what I'll do is I'm going to take my rotary cutter and I'm going to put it right in that 6-inch mark. These happen to be 6-inch rings. If you want to do something bigger, you certainly could, but these are 6-inch rings, and I'm going to bring it around and over right in there. So let me show you a couple things first. Some people struggle with getting the rotary cutter into the grooves. Sometimes it can cause some frustration. So if that's you and you don't like to put that in the grooves, no problem. Instead, what you could do is just take like a friction pin or some kind of water erasable pin and actually use this as your guide. Okay, I'm lining up those lines along the fold. Again, it says fold line, and I could just take my little marking pen, go to my 6-inch spot, and then just use that. All right, now I have a perfect circle that's been drawn, and all I'd have to do is take my scissors and cut. Now, the nice thing about using the rotary cutter is it's going to be a lot smoother. But if you don't, if you feel like you have a pretty steady hand, you just cut through all those layers and it's going to create that. But this is the difference. This was a circle, the way to do a circle, but I want to do an Olympic ring, right? So I'm going to place this back on here and mark it up with my fold lines, line it up with my fold lines, I should say. And I'm going to do this as a 1/2-inch circle. So I'm going to go down to the next slot and mark. And there we go. Can you see that? And so now I cut this, and I'll have a ring. I'm going to go ahead though and actually do it with the rotary cutter. I think I'll stand up for this. So I have some good leverage here. All right, so I got the fold line. I'm going to go to put my cutter in the 6th position. Go right there, and I'm going to put it in the position just underneath it. There you go. Now, look how easy this is. Ta-da! I have a perfect circle ring. Isn't that awesome? So, and the fusible is already on it. So all I have to do is peel this off, and then I just fuse it in place. Pretty cool, right? Let's say I wanted to do another circle. Maybe I wanted to make little mug rugs of the Olympic rings. I could do that. And I just, take my leftover piece and I, do another ring. And now I have a smaller ring and a smaller ring. maybe I save this for something else because now I have an entire circle. It really, there's a lot of things you could do. Now, what I did with the little table topper was I didn't want to waste all this extra piece. Do you see how much is left over on here? Because the circle has been only cut out of the center. So what I did was I went ahead and just did this. Oh, I forgot to bring my ruler downstairs. Oh, darn it. That's okay. Pretend that I've got a ruler in my hand, and I just did like 1-inch strips. Not, it doesn't have to be 1 inch, but that's not too bad, right? For freehanding. It could be 1/2-inch strips. It doesn't matter. So I just did some strips like that. Oops. And then I just cut it up into confetti. So, just like that. I mean, this is so simple, right? So I just cut it up like confetti. I already have the fusible on here. I'm going to peel it back, revealing the shiny side, which means that it's been adhered to, right? Pull it back and place it on. And I just did it sporadic, just all around. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter. But that way I was able to get more out of the fabric that I used. So let me think, I should put it this way, probably. The 3 rings go on top. And that's it. So let me tell you a couple of other things that I did in preparing this. First of all, my background is white. So it's very see-through, which usually, it's not a problem for a background. But if you're going to be doing a lot of applique on something, one of the things that I love to do, whether it was white or just another piece of fabric, the fact is I was doing a ton of applique. And so I'll show you that I put the Kimberbell fusible backing on the back of this before I added all of my appliques. Okay, I love this stuff. It definitely adds body to lightweight fabrics. It's going to help whether I do it by sewing machine or an embroidery machine. I love using the fusible backing. It's woven. It's like an interfacing. It has a glue side to it. You just fuse it on the back, and now your fabric has just a little more oomph to it. And you have less, it's less likely to get puckers, and it makes your embroidery or your sewing experience with applique so much nicer. Love, love, love it, okay? Now the other item that I used for this was the project batting, the Kimberbell project batting. This is very thin. I love it. It's an 85-15 cotton poly blend. And I'll tell you, this also, let me pull this out. You can see how thin it is. Kimberbell loves to use this, especially like with their mug rugs, if you love doing mug rugs. But I'll tell you, all of the small projects I do, I'm all about using this batting. I absolutely love it. Okay, so this is for both sewing or machine embroidery. If for those of you who are doing machine embroidery, and let's say you're doing quilt blocks, you can use this as like a stabilizer. So definitely want to do that. All right. All righty. So, you know what? I for those of you asking for a kit or pattern, there's really not one, because though these are like trademarked, so I'm not trying to like copy something. I'm just saying, look at what the rings look like, add it on, don't sell it. Okay, and then add your confetti. So anyway, this background is a fat quarter of white, and then I use scraps of the different solids, and let's see, what should I say? The rings are 6 inches, and then 6 inches wide, and then it's like a 1/2 inch I won't say diameter, but that space is a 1/2 inch right there. Okay, so yeah, so those are the products I use for this. And then I just took it to my sewing machine. I used the large serpentine, however you say it, tomato, right? You can see it more on the back. For those of you with a serpentine stitch on your machine, I set it to be the largest length and widest width. Okay, so and then I just did a black binding. So pretty easy. And now I can pull it out for whether it's the Summer Olympics or the Winter Olympics, whatever it might be. But that's how that is. All right. Woo. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, yeah, it's for your own use, for sure. You don't, I'm not selling this, and I'm not selling a pattern or anything. You just, for your own personal use at home, you want to have some kind of fun party, put a bowl of popcorn on, right? Some candy, some treats, gather the kids around, watch the Olympics together, and have fun. No worries, Patsy. Okay, so that is that. Now, I wanted to talk to you about the blanket stitch. Okay, so I was going to grab a piece of paper. Hold on just a second. Let's see. Okay, so the Hyde Park dog walkers. This was something that wasn't left on our door today. Cool. I might need to hire them. All right. Let me show you just a few quick things about doing blanket stitch. Okay. I've talked about this in other 3 at 3 episodes, so it might be a review for some of you, and some of you, it might be brand new, okay, to this. But let me just share with you a few principles of blanket stitching so that whether you're doing a project like this or any other project on your sewing machine. And by the way, I love machine embroidery, but I also love to do a blanket stitch on my sewing machine too. And sometimes it's really hard to see with the camera, like what the sewing machine is doing as we're trying to do that. So let me take you through a few steps of how I do blanket stitching and why certain things are important. Okay, so we're going to draw some pictures. Like I said, this is going to be a review to many of you, but hopefully it'll give you a chance to remember some things. Okay, so my example today was that I was doing rings, right? So it's a circle. Oh, you know what? I better grab a marker. That's not going to show off very well. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. So the key will be, do the markers work? Right? Or are they, oh good, this one works really well. Or are they just in the junk drawer for looks, right? Oh, you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, fortunately that one works good. So let's say we have a circle. In fact, we'll make it a ring in honor of the Olympics. There we go. Or we make it like a donut if you're hungry right now. Okay, so now, let's see if the green will show better. Okay, so the key to having a really good applique is, first things first, You have what's called a jump. That's jumping forward with an applique stitch. And then you have a bite, and the bite is going into the applique. And then your machine goes back, and then it goes a jump and then a bite. And then it goes back and then a jump and a bite. And so I always like to refer to the bite as going into the apple or the applique, right? The apple, applique. There you go. That's a good way to remember it. So back, jump, back, bite. So when you are going to here, you're taking a jump and then a bite and then back and then jump, bite, back, jump, bite, back. But this is the key. You always need to, you have your needle position so it's right up against the applique, but it's on the background. It is not on top of the applique. It is on the background, and it's just barely off of the applique. All right. If you're going like this and you're seeing the background like that, your needle is not close enough to the applique. So it's got to be right here at the very edge of your applique, but yet it's still on the background. Now, there's also what happens often is that we're going around and we're sewing along and we're singing a song and we are like, life is good, right? And then we go over here, we go take a bite, and then we're just going so fast that we get what we call the alligator bite. Okay, have you seen that before in your stitching? I call this an alligator bite. It's like a V. All right, going onto your applique. Why is that happening? It's because you have turned this circle where your needle was not in the correct position before turning it. Where does the needle have to be before you turn an applique? It always has to be in the outside position. If you will make sure that your needle is in the outside position before you turn, all right, before you turn it, you will have much better success and you're not going to have the alligator bites, right? So you're going around and you go here and you want to turn, but your needle is over here. Don't turn yet. Don't turn until you get it back out here to the outside. Then lift up your presser foot, pivot your fabric, put your presser foot down. Needle is always in the down position. And now you're going to go ahead and keep stitching, singing that song as you stitch, right? Because life is good. This is a life is good moment. All right. And you're going to have perfect applique. So when you do curves, take it slow. All right. Just take it slow. And I was actually, because I'm so used to how the position of my needle and how many times it takes to get to somewhere, I can now go pretty fast around these curves and I can just keep on trucking, right? But if you are new to this or you don't feel as experienced with applique, please just take it slow. Try to, navigate it. So again, the needle's on the outside before you turn it. And then you go and you are going to have a beautiful, beautiful stitch. All right. Okay. Can we take a moment of silence for something beautiful? Check out that corner, folks. I just noticed I love it when that happens. That is a beautiful corner. Oh my goodness. My next corner, not so much. It's okay. But that is a beautiful corner. Okay. There you go. There you go. Marilyn says corners are trickier. Okay, let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about corners because like when you're doing confetti, corners are awesome. Okay, let's do that for a second. We have our confetti piece, right? What we're going to do is do our jump, bite, back, jump, bite, back, jump, bite, back. Oh yeah, sing it with me. Do, do, do. There we go. Life is good. Okay, now we are getting to the corner. We are going back. We take one more jump. And where is this going to go? Well, if I turn it, it's, you know where it's going to go? It's going to go out in left field. I can't quite do that until I can get it over here, and then I can go this way, okay? So what I'm saying is that if you have, let's see, if you have, there's lots of stitches on so many different machines. You have to get used to what your stitch does. I always say that. You've got to get, it's hard to say the it all and all because machines are different or blanket stitches are different. But I will tell you, and Cindy shared this the other day, that my favorite stitch to do when blanket stitching, for those of you who have baby lock, it's the Q12. I don't know what it is, you know, on other machines, but it is where it takes a jump and then another jump and a bite and back. Jump, jump, bite, back. Jump, jump, bite, back. And the reason why I love that stitch is because now it gives me one more chance to turn. It will go back on top of itself and then continues forward, okay? And goes from there. So always, when you get to a corner, evaluate and think to yourself, okay, what part of the equation am I in? Am I in the jump time or am I in the bite time? Because that will make a difference depending on where you're at. So know that if you're on the bite time and you turn it, you could make it so that that goes on there if that's the position your sewing machine is in. If it's not, think about where that stitch is going to go. And if it's out here, that's what's going to happen, right? That's what's going to end up happening. Is it's going to go out in left field. So I actually have a really good little handout, and maybe I should put it on. A lot of you probably have the handout because it's something that I've talked about before, but it's something that I could put on again for those of you who are new. So after this is done, give me just a minute and I will put it under deal of the day. It is a free download, okay? And you can download it, and it tells you how to do corners, how to do around in circles. It talks about the heart, like what do you do when you go into the heart, the peaks and the valleys. Donna, great idea. She says sometimes she shortens her stitch as she approaches a corner. Absolutely, you could definitely do that. Shorten it up a little bit. Sometimes I will actually, I know this might sound weird, but I will hold, maybe other people do this, I don't know. I will actually hold on to my project a little bit tighter so that I don't want it to go yet again, right? So I want to hold back on it a little bit and let the machine do it, but it's not moving anywhere, if that makes sense. Sometimes I will do that. So again, oh, thank you, Brenda. It does. It takes practice. It just takes practice. And so what some of you may have heard me say before is I will even take a piece of fabric. Let me see if I can cut it into a little bit of a square or something. I will take a piece of fabric. If you want to practice and get really good at your blanket stitching, then Yes, I know. You don't want to break your needle. I totally get that, but sometimes I will still hold on to it and the needle's fine. Okay, so I have this background. I will draw a heart. Okay, so I don't even have to go to the effort of adding an applique. Okay, I don't want to go to that much work to practice, right? I don't want to have to put on the heat and bond and then cut out the shape and all of that. I'll just draw shapes on fabric and then I will take it to my machine and I start blanket stitching around it. And that gives me practice. And I become curious. I always talk about this. I become curious. If something goes off into left field, right, and it's out there, I think to myself, I wonder what I did. I wonder how I did that. I become curious. So because when I become curious, then I learn from my mistakes, right? And so we go off and you go, oh, okay, you know what? The needle was probably here when it should have been here. All right, no big deal. I'm going to go ahead and do it again, right? I'll practice again. And that is the way to get better at anything in life. I mean, hello, Olympics, years and years of practicing, we can do the same thing. Winona is asking, what is a blanket stitch? Right. Let's see if I can, what one's going to show up the best? Probably this green one. Okay. So right in here, that's when there's a jump and the bites are what's happening. Let's see. The jumps are what's happening when it goes into the applique. That is a blanket stitch. Okay, so that's how a lot of people will do applique on a sewing machine, is with a blanket stitch. Okay. Okay. How are we doing? Yeah, Cindy says, and go slow. Absolutely. Yep. Oh, I love it. Thank you, Karen. She never knew all this. Her brain is sucking it up like a sponge. Love your little icons there too, my friend. That's awesome, Karen. Susan says, I do the 1, 2, 3, 4 so I can see it. Exactly. You know, again, whatever your machine does, whether you're doing the blanket stitch and it's doing jump, jump, bite, back, jump, jump, bite, back. I start like singing that in my head. Jump, jump, bite, back, jump, jump, bite, back, right? Or maybe yours doesn't do that, or you don't like that technique. Then you go jump, bite, back, jump, bite, back, jump, bite, back, jump, bite, back, right? Okay, so you could do that. Whatever it is that is your thing, you got to practice and practice and practice, okay? So Julie says, did you cut your rings ahead to have them overlap? That is a great question, Julie. I cut the rings totally as normal, like an total normal ring, right? But this is how I made them overlap. I placed them on my background where I wanted them to go without fusing first. And then do you see like how this yellow goes behind the blue? All I had to do was take my scissors and just cut. I just cut a slit. And so that slit is actually behind the blue. So the blue lays on top and I was able to pull the yellow under. So you don't have to, like, that blue is completely covering where the yellow cut was, right? So that's how you did it. Same, this black overlaps the yellow. So again, I'm just, I laid it on here, do a little cut across with my yellow, and then it falls underneath the black and my black lays on top. So that's how the overlapping works. Does that help explain? So, yeah. Any other questions I can help answer? you know, have fun with this. Just enjoy, you know, the idea of whether you're doing the Olympics or not, that you are just going to learn some. I hope you've learned something new about applique, whatever it might be. Why did I have to cut the slit? Deidre is asking. It's because I needed a break in the ring to go underneath. That's why I had to cut the slit. But you don't even know. It looks like a full ring, right? But there is a slit in the red so that it can just go underneath the green. So Vaughn says she's hungry with all the bites. That's right. Nancy is asking, what is the stitch length? I like to do a stitch width of 3 with a length of 2. That's kind of my go-to.